Breaking news. Ukraine didn't just destroy a Russian factory, it bled it dry from the inside. In seconds, 3 Neptune missiles turned the technological heart of the Russian army into fire and twisted steel, a key plant where next-generation drones and missiles were born. Subscribe if you believe this was a masterpiece of military intelligence. Comment if you think Ukraine went too far and may have unleashed something far worse. What you're about to see isn't just an explosion. It's the moment strategy defeated brute force, a brilliant operation, or the beginning of a war with no return. At 2:47 a.m., high above Bryansk Oblast, Russia, 4 900-pound Neptune missiles tore through the darkness at 560 miles per hour. They hugged the terrain, flying between 165 and 200 feet, following a pre-programmed route to stay below Russian radar aimed at the Electrodetal factory. But the precision strike wasn't the hard part. The real genius was the 4-month intelligence trap that led to this exact moment. The target, the Electrodetal plant, was the beating heart of Russia's high-tech war machine. Every Chimera drone, every Cage-59 missile began with components made there. Russia called it an impenetrable fortress. Over 150 miles from the border, the factory kept its lights on all night, confident in its layered air defenses, so confident it practically painted a bullseye on its roof. What it didn't account for was one fatal flaw: a ghost corridor, a narrow river valley where the Earth's curvature created a blind spot in Russia's billion-dollar radar network. Ukraine had found it and waited. The real challenge wasn't hitting the target. It was hitting it and escaping before the counterstrike. Once the missiles launched, a silent 15-minute countdown began. The exact time it would take a squadron of Russian Su-35s to scramble and obliterate the Ukrainian launch site. Here's where the technical brilliance came in. The Neptune launch tubes were thermally insulated, allowing the crew to fire all 4 missiles in a rapid 4-second salvo without waiting for cooldown. Within 5 minutes, they could pack up and vanish. Meanwhile, 15 Banshee decoy drones launched from a truck. The jab in a 2-punch combo meant to overwhelm Russian defenses. They climbed to 2,000 feet, broadcasting fake F-16 transponder codes. Loud, obvious bait begging to be shot down. At 2:34 a.m., inside a Russian command bunker near Bryansk, an operator's screen lit up with red icons, 15 fast-moving contacts appearing where none should exist. The signature looked unmistakably like an F-16 strike group. Orders were given: engage. The Panzer S-1 systems fired. 10 expensive SAMS roared skyward, and within minutes, 10 $15,000 Banshees were reduced to fireballs. The Russian crew celebrated, thinking they'd repelled a NATO-style air assault. They had no idea they'd just spent millions to swat decoys. Ukraine had traded scrap metal for gold, and Russia paid the price willingly. But the victory celebration didn't last. The sky was now alive with radar pings. 2 Su-35s flying at 1,200 miles per hour screamed toward the supposed Ukrainian launch site. The Neptune crew's 5-minute escape window was shrinking fast. At 2:43 a.m., deep inside Russian airspace, the 4 Neptune missiles executed their masterstroke. To seal the deal, a decoy system hidden in a nearby forest ignited, a massive heat signature mimicking a freshly fired launcher. The Su-35 pilots, hungry for a kill, veered toward the false target. On the Nebo-M radar, the operator saw what looked like a harmless rain cloud drifting toward the factory. But the Russian commander smelled a trap. He ordered a manual full-power radar sweep, and then unleashed his ace, an A-50AW ACS plane. From the sky, its powerful radar erased the Neptune's low-altitude advantage. At 2:45 a.m., the Kasuka-4 electronic warfare system struck. It didn't just jam one Neptune, it lied to it, tricking its computer into believing it was 1.5 miles off course. The missile tried to correct a phantom error, drifting out of the ghost corridor, a tiny deviation that proved fatal. The A-50 operator spotted it, a single blip that didn't move like a cloud. Confirmation: two S-400 missiles, 4,000-pound monsters, launched at Mach 5. At the same time, the Su-35s redirected toward the true source of the launch, now only 10 miles away. The mission teetered on total collapse. At 2:47 a.m., Ukraine's planners made their final gamble. A desperate enemy is predictable. The remaining 3 Neptunes did something extraordinary. They stopped listening. Engineers had built them with one rule: never trust GPS. With a single command, they switched to pure inertial navigation, blind but confident, guided by internal gyroscopes and accelerometers. The missiles filtered out the Kasuka's lies and locked back onto their deadly path. 40 miles away, a hidden Ukrainian Special Forces team launched a Switchblade 600 kamikaze drone. Its mission wasn't to hit planes or missiles, but to assassinate the electronic brain itself. Moments later, it slammed into the Kasuka-4's emitter array. The entire multi-million-dollar EW system, the brain of Russia's defense grid, was annihilated by a drone that fit in a backpack. The jamming field vanished. Russian pilots, now flying half-blind, saw only the decoy fire below and unleashed their payloads on it. By the time they realized the mistake, the real Ukrainian launchers were already rolling into a fortified underground bunker. The first impact was surgical. The warhead punched through 3 feet of reinforced concrete and detonated 15 feet from the main furnace used to make Chimera drone components. 2 more strikes followed milliseconds later, obliterating the factory's core. The secret wasn't brute force, but timing. Each warhead's 0.8-second fuse delay made it explode inside the production hall, trapping the blast and amplifying the pressure until the building became a steel blender. The KH-59 assembly line collapsed. The $20 million Chimera furnace melted into slag, and more than 200 critical components were vaporized. On the ground, chaos reigned. Spetsnaz and FSB troops surrounded the site, weapons pointed outward, desperate to contain the disaster. Firefighters could only watch as the inferno consumed everything. Electrodetal, once the nerve center of Russia's weapons industry, was gone. The attack severed an artery. The plant that fed over 1,500 defense contractors ceased to exist. Drone and missile lines froze, supply chains collapsed, and the myth of Russian air defense superiority shattered overnight. Commanders hesitated, decisions slowed, and in that brief window of confusion, Ukraine pressed its advantage, and so ends one of the boldest operations of the modern war. 3 missiles, a flawless plan, and a factory Russia deemed untouchable, reduced to ash. But beyond the smoke and rubble lies the question no one dares answer. Did Ukraine win a battle, or ignite a fire that could spiral out of control? Because every precision strike comes with a price, and this one may yet be paid. Subscribe if you believe this was an act of strategic justice. Comment if you think it was a dangerous provocation that could change the course of the war. This wasn't just an attack, it was a message, one that echoes in Moscow, in Kyiv, and in every war room across the planet. The story isn't over, it's just beginning.